The snow fell heavier now, blanketing the city streets in a hushed silence that seemed to wrap around. Michael Harper and Little, Emma like a protective cocoon. Michael kept his stride measured, matching the small girl's pace as she led him through the winding neighborhood streets, her tiny hand still tucked safely in his. Emma chattered softly as they walked, her breath forming small clouds in the cold air. "My mama works at the diner on 5th Street, she explained, her voice carrying that innocent confidence children have before the world teaches them to doubt. She makes the best pancakes. Everyone says so." Michael smiled down at her. This brave little soul with blonde pigtails and a backpack nearly as big as she was. "I'm sure she does," he said gently. "How long has she worked there?" "Since forever," Emma replied, which Michael suspected meant perhaps a year or two in a child's understanding of time. "She works the late shift because it pays more. She says every extra dollar helps." They turned onto a quieter street lined with modest apartment buildings, their brick facades weathered by countless winters. The Christmas lights strung across some windows seemed dimmer here, more sparse but no less hopeful. Michael noticed Emma's pace quickening slightly, and he realized they must be getting close to home. "That's our building," Emma announced, pointing to a 4-story walk-up with a faded green awning. "We're on the 3rd floor. Mama says it's good exercise." Michael felt his heart tighten as they climbed the worn stairs, Emma's small legs working hard to manage each step. He could hear the sounds of life behind the thin walls, a television playing too loud, a baby crying, someone cooking something that smelled of onions and hope. When they reached apartment 3C, Emma fumbled in her coat pocket and produced a key on a lanyard. "Mama made me promise to always keep it safe," she said seriously, fitting it into the lock with the practiced ease of someone who'd done this many times before. The apartment was small but tidy. A worn couch sat against one wall, covered with a crocheted blanket in cheerful colors. Children's drawings decorated the refrigerator, held up by mismatched magnets. On a small table by the window sat a snow globe, the kind you might find at a dollar store, and a framed photo of Emma with a woman who had the same bright eyes and gentle smile. "That's my mama," Emma said, noticing where Michael's gaze had fallen. "Her name is Sarah Mitchell." "She's beautiful," Michael said truthfully. In the photo, Sarah was laughing, her arms wrapped around Emma at what looked like a park in summer. There was warmth there and love, and something else, a quiet strength that Michael recognized from his own mother, who had raised him alone after his father left. Emma shrugged off her backpack and coat with the unself-conscious ease of a child in her own space. "Are you hungry, Mr. Harper? I can make us some peanut butter sandwiches. Mama showed me how." "That would be very kind," Michael said, though he wasn't hungry. He was thinking about this woman, Sarah, who had taught her daughter to be self-sufficient at such a young age, who worked late shifts to make ends meet, who hadn't come home last night. As Emma busied herself in the small kitchen, standing on a step stool to reach the counter, Michael noticed more details. The careful way everything was organized to be within Emma's reach. The notes on the refrigerator in adult handwriting. Emergency numbers and "you are loved and always be kind." This was a home built on love and resilience, he realized. A home where a mother was doing everything she could to give her daughter a good life, even when resources were limited. "Mr. Harper?" Emma's voice broke through his thoughts. "Do you think my mama is okay?" Michael knelt down to Emma's level, meeting her eyes with gentle honesty. "I think your mama loves you very much, and she's probably been trying very hard to get home to you. Sometimes grown-ups face challenges that take longer to solve than we expect. But we're going to find her, Emma. I promise you that." Emma nodded, her small face serious. "That's what I thought, too. Mama always comes home. She never breaks her promises." They sat together on the couch, eating peanut butter sandwiches that Emma had made with endearing imperfection. Too much peanut butter on one side, not quite enough on the other. Michael ate every bite as if it were a gourmet meal. "Tell me about your mama," he said softly. "What does she like to do when she's not working?" Emma's face brightened. "She likes to read to me before bed. And on Sundays, when she's not too tired, we go to the library. It's free," she added matter-of-factly. In that way children have of understanding economic realities without fully grasping their weight. "We check out books, and sometimes Mama finds cooking magazines with new recipes to try." What's your favorite book? Michael asked. The Velveteen Rabbit, Emma said without hesitation. It's about becoming real through being loved. Mama says that's the most important kind of real there is. Michael felt something shift in his chest. Here, in this modest apartment, this little girl and her mother had built something precious, a life rich, in the things that truly mattered, even while struggling with the things that shouldn't matter. As much but somehow did in this world. He pulled out his phone. Emma, I'm going to make some calls to help find your mama. Is that all right? Emma nodded, settling back against the couch cushions with a trust that made Michael more determined than ever to be worthy of it. His first call was to his head of security, James. I need you to check local hospitals and police stations for a Sarah Mitchell. Works at the diner on 5th Street. Mid-30s, blonde hair. It's urgent. His second call was to the diner itself. A weary voice answered, 5th Street Diner, we're closing up. This is Michael Harper. I'm looking for one of your employees, Sarah Mitchell. She didn't come home to her daughter last night. There was a pause, then a sharp intake of breath. Oh, Lord, Sarah, yes, she was here. Had to work a double because Jenny called in sick. She left around midnight to catch the last bus home. Michael's mind raced. Midnight, in the snow. Which bus route? The number 7, but Mr. Harper? Whoever you are, you should know that Sarah mentioned her bus pass had expired and she was a few dollars short for the fare. She was planning to walk part of the way home. Michael closed his eyes. A woman walking alone through snow-covered streets at midnight, trying to save a few dollars to feed her daughter. Thank you, he said quietly. His phone rang almost immediately. James. Found her, sir. She's at Mercy General. Admitted early this morning. She collapsed from exposure and exhaustion on her way home. A cab driver found her and brought her in. She's stable now, but she's been asking for her daughter. Michael looked at Emma, who was watching him with wide, hopeful eyes. Is she okay? Emma asked softly. Your mama is at the hospital, Michael said gently. She's going to be fine, but she needs rest. And she's been asking for you? How would you like to go see her? Emma's face transformed with relief and joy. Really? Can we go now? Right now, Michael promised. 20 minutes later, Michael's car pulled up to Mercy General Hospital. Emma held his hand tightly as they walked through the automatic doors, past the decorated Christmas tree in the lobby, up the elevator to the 3rd floor. They found Sarah in a shared room looking pale but alert, her eyes scanning the doorway anxiously. When she saw Emma, her face crumpled with relief and love. Baby, she whispered, and Emma ran to her bedside. Mama, I was so worried. Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms, careful of the IV in her hand. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I tried so hard to get home. I just got so tired. Michael stood back, giving them their moment, but Sarah looked up and saw him. Her eyes widened with recognition, not of his face, but of the expensive suit, the obvious wealth, the fact that a man like him was standing in a room like this. You brought her, Sarah said softly. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Emma is very brave, Michael said simply. She came to my office building asking for help. I'm Michael Harper. I know who you are, Sarah said quietly. Your company owns half the buildings downtown. I see your name on the construction signs. There was no resentment in her voice, just statement of fact, but Michael felt the weight of it. The distance between their worlds, usually invisible to him, was starkly visible here. The doctor says you collapsed from exhaustion and hypothermia, Michael said. You were trying to walk home in the snow. Sarah's cheeks flushed. The bus pass. I couldn't afford to renew it this month. Emma's winter boots had holes and I had to choose. She looked down at her daughter, stroking her hair. I always choose Emma. Mama, Mr. Harper made sure I was safe, Emma said proudly. And he ate my peanut butter sandwich even though I made it wrong. You made it perfectly, Michael assured her. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I don't know how to repay this kindness. There's nothing to repay, Michael said. But even as he spoke, his mind was working. Seeing not just this moment, but the larger picture. He thought of his own mother, working multiple jobs to raise him. He thought of the system that forced people like Sarah to make impossible choices. He thought of Emma's trust and Sarah's strength, and all the other families out there, invisible to people like him, fighting their own private battles. The doctor came in then, a kind-faced woman in her 50s. Ms. Mitchell, you need rest. We're keeping you overnight for observation. Your blood pressure was dangerously low. I can't afford... Sarah started, but the doctor held up a hand. It's already taken care of, she said, glancing at Michael. After the doctor left, Sarah looked at Michael with a mixture of gratitude and something like sorrow. Why? She asked simply. Why would you do this for strangers? Michael thought about how to answer. He could talk about his mother, about giving back, about corporate responsibility. But standing there, seeing Emma curled up against her mother and Sarah's exhausted face, he realized the truth was simpler and more profound. Because Emma asked for help, he said, and because the world becomes a better place when we answer those calls. Not because we're expecting something in return, but because that's what it means to be human. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, I want Emma to grow up knowing that kindness is always possible, no matter how hard things get. That's what I try to teach her. Even when I'm exhausted, even when I'm scared, I try to show her that we help each other. You've taught her well, Michael said. She's remarkable. As Michael prepared to leave, promising to check on them tomorrow, Emma ran up and hugged his legs. Thank you for helping my mama, Mr. Harper. You're a good person. Walking out into the winter night, Michael felt changed. The snow was still falling, but it looked different now, not cold and harsh, but gentle, transformative. He thought about the distance between his corner office and Sarah's modest apartment, and how Emma had bridged that distance with simple courage and trust. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. Margaret, I need you to set up a meeting with HR first thing Monday morning. I want to discuss our company's living wage policy, child care benefits, and transportation subsidies. It's time we did better. Of course, Mr. Harper, Margaret said, surprise evident in her voice. Is everything all right? Everything, Michael said slowly, is about to be. Because sometimes, he realized, it takes a child's hand in the snow to show us the way home, not just to a place, but to our better selves. Emma had reminded him of something he'd forgotten in the climb to success, that wealth means nothing if we forget to be wealthy in compassion, and that true success is measured not in what we achieve for ourselves, but in how we lift others up. The snow continued to fall on the city, covering everything in white, making the world new again. And somewhere on the third floor of Mercy General Hospital, a mother held her daughter close, whispering promises she would keep, while a little girl with blonde pigtails drifted off to sleep, secure in the knowledge that kindness, in the end, always finds a way.